Hello and welcome everyone to Kaiphoon's Cove. I am the bite on a hand that is too small to notice, but you may call me Kaiphoon. And today I have for you a game that's just come out and it brings us a little full circle, The Last of Us Part 2. Join me for a look at the gameplay, the characters, as well as a brief look at the story, and we'll see whether it retains that masterpiece label that the first earned. Be warned, there will be a few spoilers, not a lot, so if you haven't played it, you know what to do. If however you have, or you're like me, you just don't give a shit about spoilers, then I invite you to join me for my retrospective of The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us is an interesting experience to say the least. First and foremost, the game is absolutely beautiful. Not just in the way it looks, but in the way it sounds. Like, everything in this game. The music, the voice acting, it's just top notch. Like, it really is. It's amazing. On top of that, the gameplay, as far as I'm concerned, regardless of whether or not you may like all the decisions in the game's story, the game is 100% an evolution of the first game. Its gameplay is a complete evolution of that. If this game had come out a few years back, we would probably be saying that this game's gameplay is fucking amazing. And it really is. It is pretty freaking cool. The combination of everything you can do. The way that melee has been rebalanced to play a much huger part, not just in the, find a board and strap some freaking tape to it with some blades, but also in the sense that, like, all melee, even just with your fists, is a viable option now. It really changes some of the core elements of the first game and makes them much better. As far as I'm concerned, it's fantastic. That said, that's also the biggest problem. To a large degree, the game does feel dated. And not in the sense that you can't play it and enjoy it and it doesn't feel like a modern game, but more so in the sense that there are things modern games have done that have made bigger leaps, so to speak. The Last of Us Part 2, while its gameplay is 100% an evolution of the first, it's not quite a brand new experience. And so you start to see some of the elements that kind of feel dated. Things like when you go to open drawers and you stand there. I had one time when there was something in the drawer. Normally the animation plays, it opens the drawer, and it's like, oh look, I can take this thing. I stood there forever. I had to move the camera to get it, and it's like, that bugs. Like, that kind of thing feels like an old gameplay habit. The same thing too with having just to hold triangle to do things. Even the generators and starting the boat. Tapping triangle at the right time, like even that, it just feels completely strange, especially given the other mechanics you have in the game, like the playing of the guitar. Like, the fact that they went so simple with things like opening doors, like just hold triangle, versus moving the stick and strumming your finger on the touchpad for playing the guitar. Just again, it shows that some of the things that they built off of, some of the foundation, is just dated. And so that's not to say that the game is a bad game. Again, I stand by. This game is fantastic. It's amazing. It's fun to play. It is extremely interesting, to say the least. I love the story. And as far as I'm concerned, the two new characters that you kind of end with, Abby and Lev, I think that they are fantastic. To the point of, I would play a game that focused on them alone. With this game, some of the stuff that you see happen, like the Rat King, is just like absolutely horrendous. Or the chase scene with Abby near the beginning, where it's just freaking zombies chasing all over you. I guess cordyceps, and it's this game does tension and fear really well to a degree. And I'm interested to see it continue. Again, how it continues, whether it continues with Ellie, whether it continues with Abby, I'm fine either way. Hell, it could continue with Tommy for all I care. And, I mean, the simple truth is that I do expect this at some point to continue. Not that the story isn't over, but just that the world's not done. So, more or less, the story for this game picks up 4 years after the events of the last. The Last of Us, I guess. More or less, the story is an interesting parallel, following two different characters, Abby, the brand new character, and Ellie, fan favorite, as we kind of navigate their lives post a traumatic event, the killing of Joel, and kind of just how each deals with that. On top of that, kind of dealing with their lives in general up to that point. How Joel shaped both of their lives by his actions in the last game. And so it really is the story is an interesting look at two very unique characters that are very much the other side of the coin from each other. Not just people that play off of each other, but also people that are almost at odds with each other. They're almost representative of extreme ends of the spectrum. And that's kind of what Ellie and Abby are to each other. And it's a really, really great dynamic. I think it is anyway. My overall experience with The Last of Us Part 2 can really be summed up with one quote. And that's what Dina says to Ellie earlier in the very beginning of the game. You want to fuck him up? Really, that quote summarizes everything that's amazing about this game. Aside from whether or not you're going to have an issue with the story, this game is really, hands down, just an awesome chance to fuck some people up. The Last of Us Part 2 is, for me, a great experience. And one that, if you liked the first game, I would recommend. This game is fun, it doesn't let you down, and it's honestly a lot of value for your dollar. Now, as to whether or not you personally enjoy the game, or feel things, or too on the nose, or things like that, well, that's up to you to decide. Personally, though, if you like playing the first game, I think you'll enjoy this one as well. And with that, thank you everyone for joining me at this look at The Last of Us Part 2. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. What do you think of the second game? Is it as good as the first in your opinion? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, please feel free to like and share and subscribe for more content like this. It's greatly appreciated. And with that, I am done. I hope everyone has a great rest of forever. Later, and lots of love.
I hate this kid so much. You want to fuck him up? Yeah, I do.